continue with the series of lessons that we learn from the Quran. And those who have been attending, we talked about Adam in the Quran. Then we talked about Nuh. And then we talked about Ibrahim. When we talked about Muhammad, ﷺ. We didn't go in that order. And then we started talking about Musa alayhi salam. So we gave 2 sessions in Musa. This is the 3rd session on Musa. If you recollect, last time we explored, and the way we are doing it, we trace each one of those great messengers of God, may the peace and blessing of him be upon all of them, through the Quran, not through any other sources, but what the Quran said. And we emphasized that these stories are not mentioned to us as stories. They are mentioned as case studies that should be very pertinent to our life that we live now. So we are trying always to draw parallels to what we are going through and to the general features that are a common ground amongst all these stories. And we mentioned that you will find some repeated unifying theme of all of them, that simply worship God and behave good. All of them came with that message. And each one of them have his own saga and his own legacy and own history that can be of great benefit to all of us. So when we talked about Musa, we talked about the amazing lessons we can get from his very early age before he became a prophet. His birth, how he was thrown to the unknown, and how he was picked up by the enemy, but from that calamity and hopelessness, he became the liberator and the savior to his people, and offered the model to all of us. I mentioned that the story of Musa have been mentioned very repeatedly in the Quran, and he's a very important figure for us because the parallels between Musa and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam are very noticeable. Both of them are men of movement. Both of them were leaders of people. Both of them came with concepts, with spiritual message, but also with a law to be implemented. And both of them, of course, we have a glimpse about their life before they became messengers and after they became messengers, and how they dealt with the task and the job that was given to them. Today we'll talk. Now Musa became a messenger already, as we covered the last time, and then we'll walk through the different stages. The first stage is the message preparation and the empowerment that he needed. We go to the first. We know last time that when he left his people and went to bring them some of the fire, and he found the real energy and the real guidance, and the God Almighty talked to him. And part of we'll see the conversation here. Allah is asking him, وَمَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا مُوسَى قَالَ هِيَ عَصَايَ. What is that in your right hand, Musa? And why is Allah asking? Allah knows. Even me, if I see you carrying a stick, I don't know, I will not ask you what is in your hand, because I know what it is. But definitely from the horror that Musa was feeling at that moment, Allah in His mercy and wisdom wanted to soothe him down, to extend the conversation. Do you know when you are talking to someone who's very afraid of you, maybe, and you say, but how are you doing today? The weather is nice, whatever. You extend the conversation with the person so that you offer him a zone of comfort so that he feels comfortable. And Musa responds in an interesting way. قال هي عصاي أتوكأ عليها وأش بها على غنمي ولي فيها مآرب أخرى. This is my stick. I use it in walking. I push my herd with it, and I use it for other things. What Musa is doing here, he wants the conversation to be open-ended. It's something big that Allah talks to you. You know, sometimes I wanted to have a relationship with you, and this happens with all of us. How are you today? Fine. Conversation closed. I like your shirt. Yeah. Conversation closed. But if I want a relationship, I will tell you I am fine, it is a nice day today, and how about you, and things like that, that I want the conversation to extend beyond verifying the fact. To start with, Allah knows that what He has. But Musa also could have said, what you have in your hand, my stick. Khalas, finished. But he started talking about the stick. This is how I use it, and this. Then you find the final statement here is very interesting. And I use it for other things. As if he's begging Allah to tell him, oh, what are other things? But of course, there was no time for that. There was serious business about to come. But it is enjoyable to notice these subtleties in the Quran, because it tells us something about ourselves and our behavior. How many times somebody talked to you, or to me even more, and I became very abrupt. Very abrupt. I did not say anything impolite, but I just not interested in the conversation. Wanted to finish later, okay, or whatever. But here we find that kind of, Allah tells him, and here will become, as the title says, preparing Musa for the job. He needs to achieve a certain level of certainty. He needs to be empowered. He is about to go to a very horrible kind of White House of that age, to talk to Pharaoh, to tell him, let my people go. It's not an easy job to do. So he needs to feel great level of certainty and power and faith. So he throws it, فَأَلْقَاهَا فَإِذَا هِيَ حَيَّةٌ تَسْعَى. It became a snake that's moving, and Allah tells him, خُذْهَا وَلَا تَخَفْ سَنُعِيدُهَا سِيرَتَهَا الْأُولَى. Take it and don't be afraid. So fear is a real thing. It's a human emotion. It's not something shameful. We should not be ashamed of being afraid. We should be ashamed of the way we deal with fear, or we let fear control us. So Allah tells him, don't be afraid, and also bring your hand to you, close to you. And it seems that there was something in his hand, some disease or whatever, and it will come out clear. And we are doing that لِنُرِيَكَ مِنْ آيَاتِنَا الْكُبْرَى. We are just showing you our great manifestations and science. Allah is preparing him. This is why the title of this segment is preparation, preparing him. Then comes the task. اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. Go to Pharaoh, he became a tyrant. He is exercising tyranny. And from then on, it should be inched in our conscience that faith is incompatible with tyranny. Islam is incompatible with tyranny and dictatorship. The fact that Allah didn't offer any other reasons here. اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. He is a tyrant, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending his messenger to him to change that situation. It's a very important job. And people sometimes, we were in a conversation yesterday and say, why every authority, we were talking about other areas of the world, is so annoyed, so uptight, so intolerant to Muslim voices. The reason is here. It is incompatible with dictatorship and tyranny. So the moment that there is a dictator in a place, that dictator will be very intolerant to any Muslim voice. It is deeply embedded in Islam and deeply embedded in authoritarianism also. They cannot, like oil and water, they will not mix. And so all the ideas about mixing them together in the name of God, as far as I'm concerned, is a failure. You cannot be a dictator, but I am a good Muslim dictator, or I am applying the Sharia, or I am doing this. If people don't have dignity and freedom, there is no Islam, because they are incompatible with each other. Musa receives the thing, then he will ask Allah for things. And we have to be very cognizant about what he asked for, because these are the very things that any person or any group are going to do what Musa was up to, including us. He said, رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي. Oh, my Lord, open up my chest. In other words, let me rejoice in that. Let me welcome that task for real. اشرح لي صدري. And this is requisite number one. If you are miserable of your position or your task or what you are supposed to be in life, you want to be able to do it. So he asked Allah to open his heart for that job. وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي. And facilitate it for me. He knows that no matter what, he needs the help of Allah. He needs God to be part of that equation, to interfere in that endeavor. يَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي. Then the next. وَحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي. Extremely important. And improve the impediment from my speech so they may understand what I say. People argue, and in the books you see whether he really had a speech impediment or not, or whatever, or language barrier. It doesn't matter. What matters is, if you want to carry on your task, your statements should be understandable. You should be able to articulate and express yourself in a way that your society and your community understand it. If you don't, you cannot achieve anything. And this is, although it is Musa and Pharaoh, etc., but it is a very important lesson for us. And this is the whole objective of the sessions. What are in these stories that is pertinent to us? And you review the way we deal with our issues as Muslims. Wallahi, sometimes I feel that 90% of what we say is not understandable at all. The 10% is misunderstood. I mean, you find even in our conversation with the other, the last thing in our mind is that other understanding? Or am I just getting it off my chest, or doing it the correct way, or whatever? Sometimes I laugh. We have the Jum'ah prayer, and we have 50 visitors, non-Muslims, sitting here in the back, and the Khatib, and that includes me. Around every sentence, وقال Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to his Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. The guy there, heaven's sake, you lost all those people. They don't know what you are saying. Is it Japanese? Is it, what are you talking about? And sometimes we say, no, but the rest of the khutbah is, no, you lose me with one word. If I'm talking to you and you give me one word I don't understand, goodbye. Because my span attention is about 6 seconds. You lost me within the 6 seconds. This man is saying something that's not for us. Those guys are talking to each other. And several times we say, and we remind, please, when you say Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, say the Prophet, peace be upon him. It's the same thing. It's not less halal, it's not less pious, but let them know. And so many times Sahaba said Allah without always, every time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tabarak wa ta'ala, wa jalla wa ala. What is happening here? The Khatib is validating himself. He wants to tell me I am a good Muslim. Alhamdulillah, acknowledged. But let those guys know what you are talking about. You, Mr. Good Muslim, let them know what Islam is. So it's very pertinent that Musa here is telling him, remove the impediment of my tongue so that they understand what I say. Because if the recipients don't understand the message, you cannot do anything. Whether those recipients are enemy or friend. He was going to talk to Pharaoh. But Pharaoh has to understand. No matter how animosity is there, he has to understand. Otherwise, you did not take even the first step. So this is the next thing that he asked for. The third thing that he asked for, وَاجْعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِنْ أَهْلِ هَارُونَ أَخِي. Give me a support from my own, that can assist me. Any person or group need to carry on a big task, need supporters. And we find very interesting here, saying what I want him to do. Ishdud bi azri, he empowers me, empower me by him. Wa ashrikhu fi amri, make him a partner with me. I don't want him to be my follower or my servant or my boy. I want him to be my partner, to have the same ownership of the task. Same thing, you'll find it's amazingly applicable. The same thing that Musa is asking here to carry on this task against oppression and tyranny is the same thing that all of us, if we are serious, will need. He wants a supporter that will empower him and should be a partner. Ashrikhu fi amri, make him a partner in that issue, in that affair. What we call now, let him have ownership. Any successful project, unless those who are carrying it have a sense of ownership, it will not succeed. From a simple Islamic center to this task, to whatever. If people who are working don't have ownership of the project, it will not succeed. It will not be done. So this is, he is asking and saying, because we will exalt your name a lot and will remember you a lot. You have been observing over us. So Musa here is saying that he wants this kind of support and the partnership that will enhance the remembrance of Allah and the spirituality of the team. Because you, for heaven's sake, you can have a partner who will really bring you down. Will be bad news. But his mind is very clear about what he needs for that job. And so we can recap. He wants, اشرح لي صدري, make my heart comfortable and open. يسر لي أمري, interfere to make it easy. اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري. واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Make me able to articulate so that they can understand my statements and my saying. Give me a support who will be a partner with me, and together we will enhance our spiritual awareness and we will always remember you. 7 requirements that Musa alayhi salam asked Allah Almighty for. And those are the very 7 requirements that all of us will need if we wanted to carry on a job of liberation or a job of empowerment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond saying, قَدْ أُوتِيتَ سُؤْلَكَ يَا مُوسَى. You got what you asked for, Ya Musa. And he reminds him that here we favor you again. Then he will go reminding him about his own experience that we talked about before in last session about his birth and his throwing in the river, etc. We'll go to the next slide. I'll wait for a second because it seems that money is flowing, so which is more important than. Yeah. Okay, the center already became rich. Alhamdulillah. We'll go to the next slide. We remember those 7 things that he needed and that we need. Next slide. You find in the beginning, in the first slide, Allah told him, you go to Pharaoh. He became a tyrant. Here, he already responded to his request. So they became a team. Here he said, اذهب أنت وأخوك. You and your brother go. Already they became a team. بآياتي, with my message, ولا تنيا في ذكري. This is the dual style in Arabic. Ya means 2 of you. 2. We have single, dual, and plural in the Arabic grammar. So they became 2. اذهبا, both of you, to Pharaoh, and he repeats the same statement. إنه طغى. He is a tyrant. He transgressed. So now you are a team. You just go and do your job. Next one. Here, this is extremely important. And when I say important, it is again important for us. If we wanted to believe that we are carrying the same message, doing the same job, I hope we are. It says when you go to Pharaoh, and let us remember again what Pharaoh is. Pharaoh was not only a tyrant, he was the chief tyrant in the world, the superpower, the only or the most overwhelming military, sophisticated technology power in the world. That's Pharaoh. He's a Pharaoh who really believed that he is God And sometimes you wonder, how would a man believe that he's God? You know that he was born and he knows that sometimes he gets sick and sometimes he has the urge to go to the bathroom. So how can he believe that he's God? You know how? By what people tells him. But what people tell him. You go to my wife is not here, so can I speak some politics? Go to our rulers. And everybody around that guy, that's the polite word, telling him, you are the best, you have never seen somebody so enlightened, you are God-given, you never do a mistake, you are mulham, you receive, you are everything. Eventually, that person believes that he's God. They fear him, they worship him, they follow him, they don't question him. All the qualifications that are given to God is given to him. And all of a sudden, he believes that he will never die. He will never disappear. There is a joke coming recently from somewhere, I will not mention, about some ruler that I will not mention. I leave it to your intelligence. That a man went and said, oh, I love you so much, I give you this turtle. I give you this turtle as a gift. It lives 400 years. He said, I'll see how long it lives, because he really believes that 400 years he will still be alive. He will still be in power. It's really people, rulers can believe that they are gods because of what people tell him. So to that Pharaoh who is killing every male born of the children of Israel, who is ruling with an iron fist, Allah tells Musa and his brother, go and talk to him mildly, nicely, and softly. قُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. Maybe he will be guided. لَعَلَّهُ يَذَّكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. Somebody say, come on now. Allah knows that Pharaoh is Pharaoh. Allah knows that Pharaoh is condemned and he will perish. And he is a tyrant. What is this? Go and talk to him nicely. And what is this? That he might be guided. This is, people, this is not about Pharaoh. This is about us. This is the way we ought to behave. Regardless. Number one, even if he is Pharaoh himself, I don't have the authority to judge him as condemned and as a hopeless case. It's very simple. God did not give human beings this authority. He can judge him the way he likes. But for me, I assume that there is goodness in every human being. And I approach him with the style that will be conducive of bringing out this goodness. This is my job. This is what I have to do. And this is what Allah tells Musa and Harun to do. Go to Pharaoh and talk to him softly and mildly, because he might remember or have the awe of God in his heart. An extremely important lesson. And it talks very loudly to us actually, because our behavior is not like that. We are in the business of condemnation. We condemn the other. We demonize the other. Dehumanize the other. And this is not the way it should be, even if the guy is as bad as Pharaoh himself. Allah tells him this is the ethics of da'wah. This is the ethics and the style of da'wah that you have to follow. Here comes the element of fear again, and here is the element of honesty also. Qala, both of them say, remember, now they are two, they became dual all of a sudden. إننا نخاف أن يفرط علينا أو أن يطغى. Oh Allah, we are scared of this guy. And here is another lesson for all of us. Don't be pretentious, don't be arrogant. Admit your frailties and your weaknesses, at least to God. I mean, you can't hide things from God. So they very openly tell Allah. Those are people that Allah talked to already. I mean, there is no, and showed him the stick, and showed him the snake, and showed him his hand, and have every reason to be empowered. But nonetheless, they admit their weakness. Oh Allah, we are afraid. Because he might transgress, he might excess, he might do something to us. Very honest revealing of one's self to Allah, which is, again, without that process of honesty and purification, we cannot carry on. We cannot. We cannot pretend that we are the bravest, the heroes, etc. And the moment something happens, attendance to mosques drop to 10% and donations drop to 0%, and all Muhammads become Mus, and all Alis become Als, and the whole amazing things that we see, because internally we were not very honest with ourselves. I prefer if when sit down together and we talk, we say we are afraid. This might happen, it might happen, there is the Patriot Act, so we know how to deal with it, rather than ignoring it or denying it. Self-denial is very bad. And here they come again, the reassurance from Allah. La takhafa, don't be afraid, I am with you. Here is the reassurance. I hear and I see. La takhafa innani ma'akuma asma'u, I hear and I see. You will not be overlooked. You will not be ignored. You will not be neglected. I am Almighty, telling you, I am with you, I hear and I see. And in spite of that, as the story proceeds, nothing can be more supporting and more empowering than that. Nonetheless, at the moment of the nitty-gritty, again they got fear. So fear is a very real thing, very real emotion. And Allah tells them here in detail elucidation of the message and like specification, giving the exact job description to them. You go to him and first say, Inna Rasula Rabbika. We are the messengers from your Lord. First a challenge. Pharaoh thinks that he is the Lord of the Lords. The fact that you are nice and you are soft and you are easy does not mean that you compromise. Does not mean that you give up the crux of the matter. The whole matter is about the almightiness of God. If you are ready to compromise about that, don't go. You are not suitable. So he is telling them specifically. The statements are now dictated to them. A memo is given to them, what you are going to say. At the very upfront, you say we are sent by your Lord. So establishing the real authority is with Allah. And Allah is your Lord, like He is our Lord. And of course hell will break loose here because Pharaoh in just this statement felt bad news. This is a challenge. nonetheless, this cannot be overlooked, no matter what. Number two, specifically, let our people go. Send with us Bani Israel. أرسل معنا بني إسرائيل. Third, ولا تعذبهم. Don't torture them. So people who are oppressed should be liberated and ought not to be tortured. The manifesto of liberation movements, the way it should be. Don't torture them and release them. In this case, the releasing was for them to leave. In other cases, the releasing is not to leave, but to take their position in the society. Like, for example, what Martin Luther King did with the African American movement. He didn't want them to leave, but he definitely wanted ولا تعذبهم, don't torture them and let them take their due status in the society. So the liberation takes several forms and several modalities, but the principles are the same. Then to prove yourselves to him, to offer your credentials, so to speak, we brought to you a message from your Lord again re-emphasizing the chain of command. Where is the authority? And then comes this very interesting statement, وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَى مَنِ اتَّبَعَ الْهُدَى. Peace be upon those who follow the guidance. And this became an immortal statement. Those who follow guidance are entitled to peace. وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَى مَنِ اتَّبَعَ. They have, now that they warmed up things, they identified who they are, they introduced themselves, they established the real authority where it resides they came with the specific request. They are not going with vague requests, be nice or be good. Specific request, don't torture people and release them. Specific request. Then this is time to start explaining other things about the message. Say that we have received a wahy, قد أوحي إلينا أن العذاب على من كذب وتولى, that punishment will befall those who deny the truth and turn away from it. Pharaoh here, as you remember, he did not argue about Bani Israel now. He did not argue about releasing them. He did not argue about torture. You have to understand the mentality of the dictator. What counts really to him is his authority. This is what hurts. When Bilal was saying, when he was tortured in the time of the Prophet, when he says Ahadun Ahad, one, they torture him more because this oneness of God is challenging their authority. We thought that we are the authority. Now you are quoting a higher authority. So all what he cared about, قال فمن ربكما يا موسى. This is, who is your Lord? See, when you follow the flow of the conversation, you find it very interesting. They gave him certain specific requests, stop torture and send people out, and we will have peace on those who follow guidance. And they talk to him softly and nicely, but what is nagging him is, who is that Lord? Because I thought I am the one. Those who are all the timers in this center, in the past, about 30 years ago, there was a man who claimed that he is a prophet, that he is the prophet. And he insisted. As a matter of fact, he visited me at home to guide me. And but we used to deal with him nicely. He's not causing disturbance. But then came another man who claimed that he's God. We felt that really we are deteriorating now. So we brought them together. And yeah, Allah, this happened. Then the guy who said he is God, he said, this man is a liar, I didn't send him. So, yeah, things can be really so ironic to be funny. And then both of them disappeared. So here all, as I said, all what Pharaoh cared about is, who is this, your Lord Musa? Then they start explaining, and there is no more succinct and concise statement in any literature than that. He is the one who gave everything and showed how to use them. Period. قال ربنا الذي أعطى كل شيء خلقه ثم هدى. He is a God who gave everything and guided how to use them. So when we say Ford created the car, no, Ford created the car because God guided him how to invent a car. Or when you say we have rockets or we have computers, it is Allah gave everything, gave iron and oil and sand and whatever, but He guided us to how to use them, to build up things, to make inventions, to use that creativity that Allah blew in us from His Spirit to be able to. But really from a stylish perspective about how a statement can be so huge and so small is this sentence in Surah Taha. قال ربنا الذي أعطى كل شيء خلقه, is the one who gave everything to His creation. So He's the giver and the creator. ثم هدى, and then guided. Okay. Go ahead. I would say that Pharaoh here was a little bit nice because he's conversing. If you go to one of the Mr. Presidents or their holy kings or holiness or majesties or khadims, Haramain or whatever, and you go that far, you are already gone, man. You finished. Really. And your family will be lucky if they survive. He will not sit down with you, give and take, and argue, and who is God, and this and that. Get him out of here. So Pharaoh changed the subject. He wanted to check the credibility of those people. In the Pharaohic hierarchy in Egypt at that time, hierarchy depends on ancestry. So it's your bloodline, who are your ancestors and so on. And at the top of the pyramid is Pharaoh. And there is nothing above him. He is God. And so he is questioning Musa, how about the previous generations? Because Pharaoh believes that he existed before the previous generations. He is God. He takes the body of a Pharaoh, yes, but he's God. So how about the previous generations? He's now trying to get him to say something that will get him in big trouble or get him killed or something. And here the response of Musa also is another lesson. He didn't say, let me tell you, or he said, the knowledge of that is with Allah. I am not going to sit here arguing family trees. I don't know. It is with Allah, recorded somewhere. لا يضل ربي ولا ينسى. Allah does not make mistakes and He does not overlook things. But He goes again to say who Allah is. After He gave that condensed statement, He says, who made the land easy for you and opened in it ways to walk and brought rain from the sky, so we have all this cultivation and we have the livestock. Then he says, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ. There are messages in that and signs لِأُولِي النُّهَى, for those who can understand. Uli Nuha means those who can reflect. Those who cannot reflect in other ways, in a very polite way, as God directed him, telling Pharaoh, don't be dumb. It is very clear who is God. Here it is all around you. And from it, you have been created, and to it, that's the earth. From earth you have been created, to the earth you are going to go back. In other words, you Pharaoh, Mr. Pharaoh, great Pharaoh, you are mortal. And from that earth you will be brought back again. So he gave him, in that again very concise statement, life, death, and resurrection. The things that we believe in. The things that are main articles of the creed of Islam. Then Quran here says that we saw Pharaoh all the signs and the proofs. فَكَذَّبَ وَأَبَى. He denied and he rejected. He refused. Next one. We'll see here the building up to the confrontation. And I'll try to go through that as briefly as I can. The nature of tyranny. That conversation now ended to a very interesting twist. So you came here, Musa, to kick us out of our land. Just imagine that him and his brother, who are coming to ask him to not to torture people and let them go, they are asking to leave. But the logic of the dictator or the tyrant is different. He makes a wild statement that never occurred to anybody, but it becomes reality. So you are coming to kick us out of Egypt. There is a conspiracy. There is a coup d'etat that you are preparing. Now they are holding people, putting them in jail, because they are going to do a coup d'etat and the proof that they were playing karate. So few students playing karate were going to make a coup d'etat. The same thing here. You are coming to kick us out of Egypt. In other words, forget about this, your Lord and my Lord, and this all preaching you are giving. You are coming here for authority. You are coming to take over. Typical reaction that you see up today in any place where is an oppressor and oppressed and a liberator. The liberator be him a person or a movement. The accusation is you are saying that for political reasons so that you can have a coup d'etat and to take over. Read history, read newspapers, watch TV. It is the same scenario, repeated again and again. You come with something very constructive, they tell you you are a terrorist, destructive, you have a plan, you are coming to turn everything upside down and to take over. A man gets elected to the Congress who is a Muslim, wants to give the oath on the Quran. He is going to overthrow our American civilization. This is the statement made by Dan Sprague. A man elected giving an oath, he will change and turn upside down our American civilization. And he is humble, because sometimes they say the whole Western civilization, the whole Judeo-Christian civilization. For a man doing something very innocuous, very natural. You put your oath on the Bible, I put my oath on the Quran, and very simple. But it is a logic, you cannot mistake it. And when you read the Quran, and to be aware and oriented, you have to read the papers, to listen to the news, and to talk to people, but read the Quran. You will find there the lessons and the guidance jumping out of the page if we care to see them. If we don't want to see them, this is another story. And he says, you are come to kick us using your magic, Musa. But if it comes to magic, we have the real magic. We'll bring the magicians and we will confront you. Let us have a rendezvous. Let us have a time for confrontation. This is the building up to the confrontation, and give us an appointment that none of us will miss, and it should be in a neutral place. I would credit Pharaoh here again. He is very egalitarian, very fair in that particular statement, because other tyrants, other dictators will not accept that. He says, okay, let us meet, you bring your magic, we'll bring our magic, and let us have an appointment, you respect, we respect, and it should be in a neutral place. So, fair enough. We have to be fair also. Musa responds in a very intelligent way. قال موعدكم يوم الزينة. We'll meet on the holiday. And we'll see why. وأن يحشر الناس. Bring all the people. ضحى. In the middle of the day. In the middle of the morning. Not in the middle of the night. Not very early. This is the time and the place that we will have this appointment. I'll stop here after looking into the wisdom of that. Musa wanted this confrontation to take place as publicly as possible, as publicized as humanly possible. Why? Because the element of annas, people, is a very crucial component of any struggle. You cannot have any struggle while you are isolated from people, while people don't see you. So he chooses a holiday where people are not working. He chooses the middle of the day where people are awake and it is sunny and clear. And he is asking him to bring all the people together, because Musa is aware of the importance of the public opinion, if you will, on that issue. And this is another lesson that we Muslims of today have to be aware of. So many times I hear that we don't care what they think about us. Why should we cater to them? Why should we bend backward? You are apologetic. Not apologetic, man. I want people to see the truth. I don't want people to isolate me in a corner and in a dark alley or in a dark room, I prove that I am right. So what? I want to prove to the people, to the masses, to the public, that I am right. And if we fail to heed that lesson, we will always be in a cocoon somewhere, exercising what we consider successes, which are actually failures.